Hello and welcome to this week's Q&A session for Hypnosellers. I'm really happy you could be here. I am, as always, going to start out by showing all the members of the group right now. This is it. We have about 21 people, I think, in here now in the group, including the newest member this week, which is HC. So let's say hi to HC. Welcome to the group. Glad you're here. I want to again start with this beginning of every Q&A session of every week. I'm going to also address one thing I got a question on about from last week's Q&A session where I talked about direct and indirect selling, and I talked about how to detect and know when someone is being like a direct listener when they prefer to like a direct talker or an indirect talker to them, like they listen that way. And then the question I got was, Maverick, how do I talk? How do I respond to them? How do I talk to them directly or indirectly? Okay. So in other words, if they're a direct or an indirect listener and I'm able to tell, how do I adjust my direct or indirect talking to them so they prefer me talking to them and they enjoy it? Okay. So that's what I wanted to share with you in this is talk about that. So imagine you asked the question from last week that I showed you last week about like a question within a question, and you determine that they're a direct listener or that they're an indirect listener. That's what their preference is. You can adjust your speaking tone and how the words you choose to them and how you go about talking to them very specifically so they prefer it. So for example, direct communication preference. If this person is a direct listener, they're going to listen to what you directly literally say to them. Okay, literally what you say. They are not going to read between the lines. They are going to want you to get to the point. They would prefer bulleted summaries and not a story. They don't like stories. They don't like you beating around the bush. They just get to the point. Don't imply anything. I don't have time to try to figure out what you're saying. Just tell me literally what you mean, and I will figure it out based on what you literally tell me. So they're listening for that directly, and they prefer that. Okay. Now, as opposed to indirect communicators, they prefer to listen indirectly. So they don't like you being straightforward and to the point. They actually want to listen for what you're implying, or they want to infer what you're saying with what you're saying. So they don't take your words face value. They actually listen for what is implied instead. And they want to read between the lines. That's what they're looking. That's what they enjoy doing, reading between the lines based on what you're saying. And they would prefer that you tell a story and versus a summary. They don't want bullets. They want you to get into the detail. They want you to, like just like this picture here. They'd rather you walk, go all over the place, and then come back around and end it and tie it up at the end. So you have a beginning that starts out good, then it goes all different places, and then ends up right where you want them to be. They prefer all of this journey, this path. They're patient. They want to hear the story. They want to hear what you're saying with that, what you're implying with that, versus the direct listener can't stand that. Like, do not do that with a direct listener. That's why this is important. You figure out if they're a direct or indirect communicator. The other thing I'll also say is that indirect listeners cannot tolerate direct talkers. So if you talk directly all the time, indirect listeners will have a problem with it versus direct listeners do not have a problem with you being direct or indirect. They can handle both. So let me say that again. Direct listeners can handle you being direct, they prefer that, or they can also tolerate you being indirect with them, meaning they tell a story. It's just eventually, if you tell too many stories or take too long, they'll finally just say, look, just get to the point. But they'll tolerate it for a certain amount of time and they're totally fine with it. Versus indirect listeners will hardly ever, at least in my experience, they will never, ever tolerate you being direct with them. So that's why this is really important to understand what their preference is so you can adjust like I'm showing you here. So let's talk about adjusting. If you know they're a direct listener, you're going to be very upfront, direct, and matter of fact with them. Direct, upfront, matter of fact. You get to the point quickly because that's what they're going to tell you. If you don't, they're going to say get to the point. So just go ahead and get to the point and be direct and avoid making them guess what you mean. They hate guessing what you mean. They just want you to tell them literally, what do you mean? What do you want me to do? They love commands. They love directness. Okay. Okay. So here's examples. Let's meet at 2 o'clock. Tell me about ABC. I will follow up with you tomorrow. Can you buy this month? Okay, these are direct things. There's no guesswork at all. Let's meet tomorrow. Tell me about. Like I'm telling them, I'm commanding them to tell me about something. I'm telling them I will follow up, not I might. I will follow up. I'm very direct and I'm very certain and confident, and they can sense it. And can you buy this month? I'm asking them, can you buy the yes or no? It's a yes or no question. Okay. versus indirect listeners like you to hint or imply what you mean sometimes, tell a story, use metaphors. They love analogies and metaphors. They love putting themselves in the shoes of the hero in the story that you're telling, or the customer. The other day I had a customer that was doing like this. Tell them a story about another customer. They love that. I have a training specifically on that. That's a unique way of getting them hypnotized into putting themselves into the story. That's why this is so powerful. What I'm teaching you here, they love it when you tell stories like this. And give them some lines to read between. They do not like directness. They want the indirectness, so be indirect. So say things like this: I wonder if you might want to meet at 2 o'clock. Or I'm not sure if you can tell me about blank ABC or not. You fill in the blank. Or perhaps I could follow up with you later. Or I don't know if you will be able to buy this month or not. Maybe you can though. Okay, so I want to take this last one, like on this one here. I don't know if maybe you will be able to buy this month. Maybe you can, or this other one to start. Can you buy this month? Okay, I'm going to take these and I want to give you something that you're probably not going to you're not going to expect. But let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay, whenever know they're an indirect listener, and you at the end when you're trying to get them to buy, and you say, "I don't know if you will be able to buy this month or not. Maybe you can though," and you're being very indirect with them because that's what they want. Guess how they're going to respond to you? They're going to respond with something like this: Yes, of course I can buy this month. Or no, I'm not going to be able to buy this month. They're going to be very direct with you in return. And that is because the way we listen is the opposite of the way we talk to others in return. So the way we prefer to listen is opposite of the way we prefer to talk and respond back to them. Okay. So that's most people, it's very counterintuitive. Most people don't realize this, but this is what's going to happen. You say, I don't know if maybe you can, I don't know. Maybe there's a possibility. They're going to say, yes, of course I can. Or not this month. Next month, I will be able to do it next month, next quarter, or whatever. Like they'll be very direct with you in return versus the direct listener, same thing, opposite of the way they listen. So if you say, can you buy this month, which they're going to prefer you speak, give them the command or ask the question outright. Don't beat around the bush. Just say, can you buy this month? They're going to respond like this: well, maybe I can. I don't know. Let me check. Let me go see if we have budget. I think I have the budget still allocated. And they're going to be very indirect, non-committal. So if you've ever had any clients or prospects that have ever been non-committal when you've asked them towards the end of a sales cycle, and you've asked them to like, hey, can you just go ahead and buy this now? Or can we just decide on a close date? Like you're being very direct with them, and they probably prefer it. They're going to be indirect in their response and say, well, maybe. So when they're non-committal and they're kind of beating around the bush, that's because you're actually talking to them in the right way. Versus these guys here, um, uh, the indirect listeners, they're going to be very direct to you. Of course I can buy. Yes, tomorrow, this month. Yeah, or this close date's not good. We need to change it. They're going to be very direct. No, they're going to leave nothing up for interpretation. You don't have to read between the lines. They're going to be very direct with you, even though they prefer you to give them some lines to read between. Okay. So, all right. So I hope that resonates and makes sense. Let me go ahead and get out of this and go back here to Hypnosellers. There's one other thing I did want to share with you. I posted this additional group sessions post this week, and that is because I would like to figure out if there's some more sessions I could create that you all would like to attend during the week, some free sessions that we can do. And I've listed a few things in here as an example. I would love for y'all to comment and just let me know, or just DM me or whatever. Um, do you think it might be worth having some group meditations, like where I can help the whole team focus better, or reduce stress, or stop the self sabotage, or more confidence? I make my own self hypnosis tapes, my own guided meditations, my own focus sessions for myself, and I record them and listen to them. Why not? Let's just do that as a group. I'm happy to lead you through that if that's something that might be valuable to you. So let me know if that's something you're interested in, and I'll set up a session. Let me know when you can meet for that kind of stuff as well, and we'll do that as a group. Another idea was hypnosales trainings, maybe specific topics that are in my book, Comfort Control Selling, right here, available on Amazon, or the inside the masterclass. I have some trainings, but maybe you'd like to go into a little bit more specific detail or discuss them and ask questions about them. I want to set up time to do that if that's something you want to do. We could also role play scenarios. So I can do things like discovery role plays, negotiation role plays if you'd like, or the session I used to do, I've done many times, called Question with a Question, where we practice like techniques, or if there's other techniques you want to practice, like pain scale rating techniques or embedded commands, comfort control commands, those kind of things that I talk about in my book, or that I've shared in my trainings here. But if you want to practice them with each other, I'm happy to set up technique practice, and we can just perfect these techniques every week, maybe do a different one each week. And then every 4 or 5 weeks, we rotate and come back around and do them again. Whatever you want. You let me know what is good, and I will schedule it whenever you find it appropriate. So just leave the comments, let me know, and I'm going to continue, as always, to make this group what you want it to be, what's going to help you sell better and persuade more and incorporate hypno sales into what you do. Because I'm going to tell you, if you're not hypno selling your customers, guess what? They are hypno selling you. They are hypno responding to you all the time. They're hypnotizing you. They're using persuasive language on you if you are not doing it with them. So it's only fair that you do it with each other. Okay. So let's see, where am I? Here I am. Okay, with that, I would just like to wish you the best of luck. Thanks for joining today. I don't see any questions in the session. Let's give you a chance if there's any. See if there's. Let's see if there's any questions. Okay, I don't see anyone putting any questions, so I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for joining and watching. If you're watching the recording, we'll see you next week. And happy selling until then. Bye bye.